work session meeting to order for Monday, January 27th, 2025. We will start by calling roll. David Gross is out of town. David Ebert.
Is present.
Richard Remley.
Here.
Jerome Abenabo.
Here.
Jerry Savoy.
Here.
Brandon Arnold.
Here.
And Claudia Bevel is present. And at this time, the staff will present our cases for the evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So our first item on the agenda, it's going to be a presentation discussion of the replat for the Cross Creek Church campus. And so right now, there are several lots, and essentially what they're wanting to do is combine all of it into one lot. We'll go through the aerial, or all the maps, but this is the aerial map as well as the zoning. If you guys remember, you guys did approve a rezoning from ag to CC1, and so that Utah shaped section should be red as well, but our map just hasn't been updated yet since that was pretty recent. Here's another aerial of the property, as well as some street views showing all of the properties that would be involved. And then they did provide us a plat exhibit, and so because all they're really wanting to do is combine all the lots, this is all that they've really given us. The purpose for combining all the lots was for future development. It'll make open space calculation actually doable, and so we can calculate the open space of the entire property rather than what it would be, which would be if they wanted to do anything, each lot would have been, or one of the lots might have been like 100% concrete, whereas another lot was 100% open space. And so that's kind of their purpose for doing this.
So more balance for the open space, is that?
Well, that's one reason,
One
but I think
reason.
it's all under one ownership,
It needs
it
to
just
be
makes sense
combined.
to be one lot.
It's essentially, yeah, cleaning it up.
And it'll help with permitting for the future improvements on their campus, new
Yeah.
buildings and other things as well.
All right. That young man that came down and presented that case grew up around the corner from me and played with my son. Because it's so weird to see children now grown, conducting business like that. I wanted to say something to him so bad. Okay, are there questions on this one? No? Okay, it's pretty cut and dry. All right, next.
Alrighty, our next case will be a rezoning request from agriculture to R30 and R40. This is gonna be at 7316 John McCain Road and 116 John McCain Road. And this is gonna be 3 lots. We have the aerial image and it's currently zoned ag. And here's another of the image. And then this is a street view of right off of John McCain. And we did receive a statement of planning. And here's the zoning exhibit. The top 7 lots, they're requesting to be R30, and then the bottom 5, they're requesting to be R40. So 12 lots in total. And they did give us the existing drainage as well as the proposed drainage. And the utility plan, and a tree preservation plan. And that was all we received from them.
So the red trees are coming out.
Yes, ma'am. And then I believe the yellow trees are potentially coming out, depending on utilities,
I see.
I think. Or is it the access easement?
Yeah, so I did want to bring up as far as where those trees are. So they are proposing a common access, an emergency access easement currently. Part of that is due to the number of lots that we allow for the zoning. With R30 and R40, we typically only allow for 10 lots, maximum of 10 lots in a cul-de-sac situation, unless there's a secondary access point. But there's another part in the land development code that specifically says that a secondary point of access, ingress egress, is only required when there's more than 12 lots. So there's 2 issues that we're dealing with at this point that are a little bit in conflict with each other. That emergency access extends down to John McCain, which is a pretty lengthy distance to get down to that part of John McCain. And so I think there's some pretty good argument for not having that. I think it also crosses other private properties and they may not appreciate that because we would expect it to be a fire lane design. But then there's, if we don't require that, then there's the maximum number of lots per the land development code, which is currently limited to 10. But they would then be asking for an allowance or a plat waiver to allow for the 12. Recognizing that there is the potential to have that emergency access easement, but that may not be the best option. So that's kind of the biggest issue with this proposal that we see.
Okay, is that a second access there, is that just an assumption they're making that could possibly happen? Or is it something that's actually doable?
They are in the communication process. It's doable.
If
It's whether
the property
everybody
owner,
else is okay with that. I mean, it would be emergency access only, so it's not like a,
how many other properties would be impacted by that second?
yeah, here's the good. So it looks like these three.
Oh, to get to John McCain?
Yeah, it extends
Coming
all
out
the way
that-
down to here. So it'd be this
So
whole
everyone else
stretch.
will be losing property.
Huh?
Is there currently a road there
No,
Just a drive
or
lane.
Clichy Road? Or-
Yeah, just a private drive, so not very well improved at all.
Do we know why we have the R40 on one side and R30 on the other side?
I think what they were doing is looking at the existing zoning adjacent to those sides and trying to match that.
Symmetry.
Yeah, some R30 and R20 and PUD
and
to the
then-
north, and then you have some R40 and RE to the south, so I think they were just trying to match.
Well, plus the way that they've laid that out, the smaller lots are on the
On the north side, yeah.
on the north side, yeah. Okay, so they're proposing 12 lots, which is non-compliant for a cul-de-sac unless there is a second access for emergency.
Correct.
So,
But the desire for that easement may not be there, especially with the adjacent property owners.
yeah. Okay. So we can't assume that until we know. We can't assume that it's okay for 12 houses there until we know if they're gonna have access to that.
So, I mean, we allow for 12 on R20 and R15 zonings, so from my perspective, it's not the number. I'm not exactly sure where that came from or where it comes from. So, anyway, that's just a thought that I have. We allow for 12 with other districts.
For smaller. Smaller you can have it, but the
Right.
larger ones you can't.
Could you send out the citations to the land development code sections at issue?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll make sure, we'll put all that in the staff report.
Yeah, okay, cause we can't make assumptions, we have to kinda know.
Yeah, so we are sending out the letters to surrounding property owners this week, right? Or did we send them last week? We sent them on Friday. So we expect to start to hear from adjacent property owners, others who are interested.
Okay.
So that means we posted the sign on Friday as well
Yes,
on the
okay.
property.
Are there other questions?
Quick question. So we can't have more than 10 on the cul-de-sac, but if you have to have access or secondary access if you have 12 or more than 12.
It's required when you have more than 12.
Okay.
In order to have more than the 10, we would expect to have a secondary access
Okay.
with the zoning.
But if it was R20, they wouldn't have to have it.
Okay. They could be-
Correct. because we allow 12 on a cul-de-sac with R20,
But 10 with,
R30
The
and
larger lots.
R40.
Yeah, do we have anything that shows the information on the adjoining lots and houses on those? Like how big the lots are, how big the houses are, when
well,
the houses were built?
Yeah, we don't have that right now, but we can put that together as well. We can make a slide for
Because I
that.
think it's relevant to a proposal like this.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we can do that. We'll just pull the information from the appraisal district.
Thank you.
So what if they were to do it as all R20, but have bigger lots? It's like the small, it's combine the lots for the houses.
The only issue with that is guaranteeing that they are the larger lots. The R20 would potentially allow for it to be subdivided.
and this is not a PUD, so we don't have to worry about open space.
That's right.
So with the cul-de-sac, the idea of the cul-de-sac, whenever this rule was put in place, was it just one circle or was it two circles? I'm trying to understand the logic of why you have, or why we have this, rule that no more than 10.
So I actually don't know where this came from. The regulation per the Land Development Code says it was adopted in the year 2000. And I don't know where those numbers came from, because it's not in the fire code. And the fire code talks about a much larger number of lots, I think even either 25 or 35 lots before you have to have a second access. So where they came up with these numbers, I just don't know.
You mean for a single access? For a single access, you could have that many?
In the fire code, that's what it says.
I would think it would be, I would think it would be a safety issue to keep that number lower.
That's what I was trying to figure out, just
That-
from a
that-
logic.
Sounds like it's backwards.
Yeah.
In my experience, when you have in the 20 to 30 number of lots, there's typically another street that they can connect to, so it's pretty rare that you only have one ingress and egress.
access, yeah, one access,
Yeah.
I think it concerns me.
Yeah. But where they came up with 10 and 12, I don't know.
Okay,
It seems like it would be a larger number with a single point for a cul-de-sac. Because the most important on a cul-de-sac is that turnaround
Mhm.
area. And so as long as you have the pavement so that the truck can turn around, they're able to go back out facing forward, and so it's not a safety
well, the
issue.
trucks need to get in and out, but the people do too.
Yeah.
If everybody, if you have more houses, more people trying to get out, that kind of is a boondoggle too, so.
Sure.
Okay, well, that's
Now, with the
interesting.
emergency access easement, it would only be for emergency vehicles.
Right. Okay, would there be a gate there
At that,
at that point?
yes,
Okay,
which would mean maintenance and all of the issues with that, inspections by the fire department. And so there's other things on, not just from maybe the adjacent property owners, but also from the fire department. It's just one more gate that they have to inspect and making sure that it's operating
mhm,
appropriately.
more city responsibility.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, next.
So this last item is proposed amendments to the land development code specific to carports. We've had several cases that you guys were involved with. I did a presentation to the city council in December and went through the regulations again, and so this is coming directly from that conversation. I presented the definitions on what we're really talking about. And a carport specifically is defined where the purpose is for temporary parking of vehicles, boats, or trailers. So really the only difference between a patio cover and a carport is the use, and the purpose is to park underneath it. But otherwise, they're essentially the same structure, or could be very similar. And we'd reviewed this also before, and so a lot of this is going to look familiar. but I've made some additional changes based on the conversation I had with city council. So the whole idea is to find a situation where a special use permit may not be required. Currently, all carports require a special use permit. And so if they comply with these regulations, then potentially they would not have to go through that process. The first change with the city council is dealing with height. They just wanted to clarify that it's maximum height of 15 feet, but also no taller than the primary structure. I guess there may be a situation where an older house has a smaller pitch on the roof and we don't want the carport to be taller than the house. It's probably a rare situation, but we just wanted to add, they wanted to add that in there as well. All right,
But
then,
if the house is taller than 15 feet, it doesn't mean they can keep going up with the car.
correct, they'll be maxed out at 15
At
feet.
15 feet, yes. Okay, I think some people might,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's why it's after, so
and no, okay.
you stop at 15 unless the primary structure is less than 15, then you're gonna have to reduce it to match the structure, primary structure. All right, with the setbacks, we talked about this before. I'm still thinking through the logic. I've crossed out the front, the word front. I don't know if, still need to think it through whether that should be removed or not, but definitely with the side and rear setbacks, that's obvious. Provided that the following conditions are satisfied. So we had talked about being completely to the rear of the house, and then the commission added and not visible. City council has changed that to or is not visible from the street. The other thing they talked about is if it's on a corner lot, it's going to have to require a special use permit. So that's what number 2 deals with. That's for an attached carport. And then similarly for a detached, it's the same thing. To the rear or is not visible from the street and is not proposed on a corner lot. So let me go through some examples. So the rest of it stays the same. So this has 3 different scenarios. You know, an example of a patio cover, similar structure, it would not require a special use permit. The blue, because it's not visible and is completely behind, it has 2 qualifications where that would not require the special use permit. The red, if we go with the proposed changes, that actually would not require a special use permit. Whereas in the situation where the word was and not visible, it would likely require the special use permit. With the word or, that actually would not require the special use permit because it's completely behind the house. This is a corner lot, so it definitely would require a special use permit. And we'll just assume they comply with everything.
But all the size and so forth are all still the same.
Yes, all of that stays the
So
same.
even if it's behind the house and you can't see it, it can't be one of those big things like this?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's a good point. So even with the size, even the height, and then maybe even some of these setback issues, if they don't comply, the only option they have is come forward with a special use permit request. And then you guys will be able to evaluate it. But if they comply with all of those regulations,
Okay.
so obviously corner lots, this would always require the special use permit. So this one would not require the special use permit because it's completely behind the house, even though it's visible from the street because of that location being completely behind, it would not require the special use permit. If they were proposing much closer to the side of the house, that would require the special use permit. The only other option, well, so this also would not require the special use permit, but let's say they wanted to put it up in this area. It's not completely behind, but it's not visible, so that would be okay. And so it just kind of depends on the location. I think if we go back to this example,
This is gonna be tedious when people come in and ask for your plans review.
but that's okay. That's what we do. We do with the tedious part of it.
Okay.
Let's say the driveway was on this side. This would be appropriate without the special use permit, even as a carport, even though it's not completely behind the house, it's not visible.
Okay. So behind the house meaning all of the building.
Completely behind all parts of the house or not visible. So that's why this one's okay, just barely. And this one also just barely is okay because it's completely behind the house. Otherwise, let's say they had a wing that came back, they would either have to push it further back or move it over so that it's not visible. We did look at this one last year, at the beginning of last year. Does require the special use permit in this situation because it is not completely behind the house or not visible.
Okay. Comments?
Those are the proposed changes.
Okay. Right.
So let me ask you, in the application process, do you have a prompt for all of these questionnaires so that they can check which one that applies?
Typically, they come in and we review that and we'll determine whether they need to go through the special use permit process or not.
Okay.
We'll ask that they come in and show us what they're planning so that we can make a definitive decision right then and there.
And so they have, they will have the information they need to adjust to,
Right.
so that they can comply.
Yeah,
In
we're
some
either gonna
cases,
help
They may not
them,
be able to.
yeah. We'll try and find a way where they don't need the SUP. If there's not a way, then they have the SUP process.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, what else? All right,
We do have one announcement.
one announcement.
Next Thursday is the boards, committees, and commissions recognition at the Colleyville Center from 6 to 6:45. And then at 7 p.m. is the State of the City,
Now, that's a week from Thursday,
week from
Right.
Thursday.
okay?
Next week.
Unfortunately, I'll be out of town. I really enjoyed that. It's a good event. Y'all should go. It
They'll
is.
have
We'll be there.
hors d'oeuvres to eat.
Yeah, we're gonna be there this year.
Good.
We forgot. Last year we were
I
here.
think last year they had drinks too, it's just if that makes a difference.
Well, it was wine.
Red and white wine.
Okay, well, it was something.
Yeah, it was something good.
Coffee and water too.
Coffee and water, coffee, water, tea. But anyway, I won't get to come and I'm really sorry about that, but I hope you all can go. Thanks for that, Jackie. If there's not anything else, then the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.